22. Who should subscribe? Yeah, that's you.
Hey, it's Huck. And you know Clone here. Clone here, and together, Clone and I, Huck and me, that's what I said, Clone. No, you said Clone and I said Huck and me. Right. For better or worse, the two of us, Huck and I. Now cut that out. Sorry. The point is, we are just beside ourselves that the very best show on television, second best. What are you talking about? Game of Thrones is by far the very best television series of all time. Seinfeld. Now I love Seinfeld, but still, no contest. The Sopranos. Great show, but overrated. I Love Lucy. I would say maybe ties Seinfeld for best comedy, but still, best is kind of subjective then, isn't it? Yes, I guess it is. Alright, Game of Thrones is my pick as the best series ever. Happy now? I don't know. Happiness is kind of subjective too, if you think about it. I mean, what is happiness? Can anyone ever truly be happy? I mean, if you're happy, are you happy for a day? Or just a moment? Is happiness really even measurable? Clone, shut the fuck up. Sorry. As I was about to say, Clone and I could not wait to express our sheer joy that Season 4, Episode 1 of Game of Thrones has finally aired. And this season marks the series' halfway point, as the series creators have recently announced that, well, the series will be completed in 7 seasons. Which makes sense. I mean, after all, 7 kingdoms in Westeros, not to mention 7 books the series is based upon. 5 books. Who knows if the author will ever complete the last 2 in the series. He has just released a sample chapter of Book 6. Just this month. 1 chapter. And if book 6 is like anything like the 5 before it, that means he's only got 1,700 pages to go. Now, episode 1 of series 4, which just aired this past week, has given us a pretty good glimpse of all of the crazy things we can expect here in season 4. And if the first 3 seasons are any indication at all, and if you've been paying attention, that of course means that, well, season 4 is almost certain to mean that at least 1 or 2 major characters are probably going to meet an untimely end. 1 or 2? More like 4 or 5. Do you remember last season's Red Wedding? I sure do, Clone. It's one of the things that sets the Game of Thrones series, far apart from anything else on television. And the really bad guys can sometimes surprise you by turning out to be, well, sometimes the good guy. Like Jaime Lannister, for instance. Now, I found it interesting that Series 4, the first episode, started off with some really deep symbolism. I mean, Tywin Lannister, the real power behind Joffrey and the throne, actually took the great sword, the heirloom of the Stark family, and melted it down and made 2 Lannister swords out of it. It seems to symbolize the utter defeat of the Starks and the true rise of power of the Lannister family. However, I'm not so sure that we've heard the last from the Stark family. Stark family? Who's left? Well, Jon Snow, for one. I'm not sure he's a real Stark. You're right. He's maybe half Stark. His true parentage has not really been revealed, even in the books, and I've read 5 of them so far. But we did get a hint in this season opener this week, if folks were paying attention. Oh, and there's Sansa and Arya. Now this episode revealed something about Arya that I think will keep everyone on their toes, not just through the finale of this season, but I think for the rest of the series. What, that she's going to have sex with the Hound? No, Clone. that she's going to possibly still have her revenge on all of the Lannisters and anyone else that may have, let's just say, fucked with her family. What, that little girl? She's gonna need an army. Mark my words, Clone. The season's opener showed us that she has a growing bloodlust for revenge. And I think she just needs to hone her skills a bit before we see exactly how far she takes that. And then there's Bran, the crippled boy, who is now wandered north of the wall in order to find somebody or something that's supposed to help him master his seeker skills. Now, sadly, episode 1 didn't really touch upon Bran. And I have a feeling we're not going to see a lot of him in season 4, if it kind of follows the books. Well, hell, I don't even want to watch the show anymore then. If that's the case, I mean, those are my 2 favorite characters. Oh, I'm sure we're going to see a glimpse of them here and there. All I'm saying is I think both Arya and Bran are going to play key roles before this thing is completely over with. Of course, the way the author keeps killing off the good guys, they may not even be alive that long. True enough, Clone. Well, of course, there's still Tyrion. Now, I still like him a lot. But, I mean, his sister wants him dead. The trailer for this season shows Tyrion in a prison cell, for crying out loud. Which begs the question, Clone. What could he possibly be accused of? After all, he is a Lannister. It would have to be something terrible. Now, don't tell me, Huck. I want to be surprised. Well, I'm pretty sure we're going to find out in the next episode or 2 this season. Well, then that's it. I mean, you put Tyrion, lock him up away in a jail cell, and then you don't show much of Arya and Bran. What does that leave you? The evil Cersei and the spawn of the devil Joffrey to watch for the rest of the season? Oh, don't worry, Clone. They're not going to forget about Tyrion. Trust me, Tyrion's going to have a juicy role to play this year. Really? You mean that something else will happen besides just watching him be humiliated by his sister and threatened with death by his evil nephew Joffrey? Well, let me put it this way, Clone. Arya's not the only one that's going to find she has some opportunities to gain a little revenge on those who tormented her. I think I'll leave it at that. Okay, you got me hooked now. God, I hope he gets Joffrey. And on the other side of the world, Dany Targaryen, you know, the blonde with the dragons, she's fast approaching her biggest challenge yet. A city of slavers who actually welcomed her arrival by posting something like 186 dead children on posts every mile marker leading to their city. And Dany is pissed. I would say so. But how did this lover boy Darius, turn into this Christian Bale lookalike when last season he was this hunky blonde guy? It was kind of jarring because he looks nothing like last year's Darius. But apparently they felt the need to make a casting change. So tell me, Huck, who's your favorite character in the series? Well, at first, I got to admit, I started watching the series because I got caught up with Ned Stark. But hell, he died early in the first season. And then, of course, I was kind of taken by Bran, the crippled kid that got tossed out the window, and his sister Arya, who I think is pretty much everybody's favorite. But now, I got to admit, as the series has evolved, I'm kind of caught up with this, intriguing character of Jaime, who at first was just, evil incarnate. And now all of a sudden we see a humbler, slightly more human Jaime. And it really is an interesting, complex character now, which just kind of gives you an indication of the brilliance of the writing, in the original books. Because even many of the villains are fleshed out, so completely that, over time you get to start liking them a little bit. Well, for most of the villains that's true, but I still haven't seen any good points in Cersei or Joffrey. Anyway, I wonder who our viewers like the most. Why don't we ask them, Huck? Good idea, Clone. All right. In your comments, let us know who your favorite Game of Thrones character is, or characters are, and why. Huck, I think I'm going to have to break down and, read all of those 5 books after all. I mean, it's hard enough waiting for just the next week's episode. But now that I think about it, after 9 more episodes, I'm going to have to wait a whole year for season 4. I can't wait that long. If only the author would get busy and finish the last 2 books so I could read them all. Anything worthwhile is worth waiting for, Clone. But I can't take it, Huck. I want to know what happens now. Exactly, which just goes to prove my point. The Game of Thrones is the best series on television ever. And the most aggravating. That too, Clone. That too. Clone makes some good points. Where does Game of Thrones rank in your list of, favorite TV shows of all time? And like we asked before, let us know who your favorite characters are in the series. Clone and I will return here in about 2 weeks and maybe share some of your answers. Until then, I'm Huck and I'm Clone. Hey, thanks a lot for watching.
Huck Fit 22. Who should subscribe? Yeah, that's you.